Well, October 7th is something I would say rather complicated. Hamas were armed by Iran. Hamas were equipped by Iran. Hamas were trained by Iran, sponsored by Iran and Iran friend Qatar. And Hamas should have been a part of something totally different. I got the information April of 2023, year and a month ago. I have a good friend who is a refugee from Iraq, a Christian Arab from Iraq who lives in Europe, and he is in connection with anti-Iranian activists in Iraq. And once in a while he sends me all kinds of information about the Iranian militias in Iraq, what they do, what they prepare, and I usually send it to the intelligence here, and they do with this whatever they do. I have no idea what. In the beginning of April of 2023, year and a month ago, more or less, he sent me a whole story about an order which came from Iran to the 50 militias, pro-Iranian militias, which they have in Iraq only, ordering them to start getting prepared to a war against Israel, which will be carried out by launching missiles, drones, and by incursion on the ground, from the Golan, from Syria, to get prepared. What they need, and to wait until the Iranian order to start the war. The same order was given to the 17 militias, Iranian militias in Syria, the same to Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and Hamas and the Islamic Jihad in Gaza as well. They were all supposed to start an all-out war against Israel in 1 minute, in 1 second, when they get the order from Iran. According to the Iranian diabolic plan, Israel would collapse within 2 to 5 days, because Israel would be under a barrage of missiles coming from all the directions, barrage of drones coming from all the directions, and incursion on the ground, as we saw in the south, also from the north, occupying the 5 towns in the north, which is next to the border, Kiryat Shmona, Rosh Pina, Ma'alot, Shlomi, and Nahariya, and all the kibbutzim and the moshavim in between, capturing thousands of people, killing thousands of people, because only in the north we had in this area like 80,000 people. So imagine how many victims would have been there. In Gaza it was like 1 of 10 of this. And all Israel air bases, facilities of electricity, water supply, roads, communications, the facilities in the sea, of the gas facilities in the sea, everything will be bombarded by those missiles, and Israel will exhaust its Iron Dome within a day, Arrow in another day, and Israel will remain exposed after 2 or 3 days. The Americans are still asleep in Virginia, and the Europeans are still where they are. Israel is being wiped off the map. This was the Iranian plan. Hamas should not have started a war by themselves. Iran's plan was planned to be carried out only after Iran owns a nuclear weapon, in order to deter any retaliation, to deter Israel from retaliation. Hamas had different timetable, because along 2023 there were talks between Israel and Saudi Arabia about normalizing the relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Why is it so important? Unlike the Emirates, Bahrain, and Morocco, which are the countries of the Abraham Accords of 2020, Saudi Arabia is a leading country. They lead the remnants of the Arab world, like Algeria, Tunisia, and, more important, the Islamic world. Maybe not including Iran, but definitely Indonesia, Malaysia, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, all these Central Asian republics, Mauritania in Africa, Niger, Chad, Mali, all these Islamic countries, which will be encouraged, of course, by the American administration to normalize relations with Israel after Saudi Arabia have done it. And from Hamas' point of view, the Palestinian cause will be dead. If most of the Islamic world is in such good relations with Israel, who in the world will care about the Palestinian issue? Killing 1,200 Israelis in 1 day, and butchering, raping, and all these things for these atrocities was way above the Israeli ability to tolerate and to absorb. And Israel went to an all-out war, unlike what they expected. And now they have to face the consequences of what they did. And Israel is determined to get rid of their military abilities and their government, and actually to get rid of Hamas from Gaza. We expected the world to be more sympathetic with this, but I must say that the Biden administration, at the beginning, were wholeheartedly with us. We still remember the don't, which Biden said to both to Hezbollah and to Iran, who, by the way, were surprised by the action of Hamas. This is why, by the way, until this very day, they did not get to an all-out war against Israel, because it doesn't work according to their timetable. Okay. What Hezbollah has with us is border clashes plus, maybe plus, but not more than border clashes. They don't shoot on Tel Aviv, they don't shoot on Haifa, they don't, strategic targets here in Israel. All they do, they shoot on the border, maybe beyond the border a little bit, because they don't want now an all-out war, because Iran has not yet achieved nuclear weapon. Look, I'm not in a situation to thank Hamas for what they did, but they actually destroyed the big diabolic satanic plan of the Iranians, because now Israel understands it. By the way, I published this in April. When I got this information, I published it because I also gave it to the army, but this information doesn't concern only the army. It also connected to the electricity grid, to the water supply, to the emergency services here in Israel, municipalities. Actually, everyone wants to know that there is a plan to get rid of us all. So it's not only the army. Secondly, this is not something which is out of history, because the Independence War, 1948, was multi-front war. We had it from Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon as well, with forces which came from Iraq, from Saudi Arabia, from Libya. And the Six-Day War, 1967, was also 3 fronts: Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. The Yom Kippur War, 1973, was 2 fronts, Syria and Egypt. So the fact that here we have 5 fronts is not something which is totally out of context. So it's not a secret. Secondly, if people talk about this in Iraq, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Yemen, in Gaza, shouldn't we Israelis know about this? So I published the whole plan of the Iranians. It was published on April 9 of 2023. Within 1 day, I saw it in English. People translated it. Yeah. I saw it in French. I saw it in Arabic. And 5 days later, on April 14, Sinwar is giving a sermon or a speech in Gaza, and he recommends everybody to read Mordechai Kedar's article. Well, although the component of surprise doesn't exist anymore, because first of all, Israel took out like 80,000 of the Israelis who live next to the northern border, so they cannot capture them, or kill them. Secondly, half of the Israeli army is in the north, ready to face Hezbollah. So now it's a very bad time to invade Israel by Hezbollah. It's not a good time. Israel is aware of it. And don't forget that for like almost 2 months, we had here in the sea a whole fleet headed by the Ford aircraft carrier, with a whole entourage of all fleet of ships with weapons, with ammunition, with bombs, with everything needed. And only this fleet could, as much as I assume that they could flatten Iran if they wanted, or maybe Lebanon as well. So this was totally not according to the Iranian plan. Definitely was not planned by Iran. So actually what happened with Hamas actually destroyed the Iranian plan. I will thank them, because when they burn kids and decapitate children and rape women and kill so many people in such a barbaric, satanic way, I'm the last man on earth to thank them. But definitely, they destroyed the Iranian plan. But look, though they did it, the intention of the Iranians and all their proxies to destroy Israel didn't vanish, didn't go anywhere. They might postpone it for a while until Israel falls asleep on God, as it did on October 7th. And they will assume it. It could be now, it could be in a year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, who cares? There is a verse in the Quran which says, is with those who have patience. And they have a lot of patience. We Westerners, our clock is very short, We want everything instant coffee, for example. Here in the Middle East, they don't know what instant coffee is.
Yeah.
They have only real coffee, which they boil and wait until it bruises, everything.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole ceremony. And you need patience. Wait until it boils, wait until... it's not like the instant culture as which we have.
Yeah.
Here, the timetable is totally different. Iran threatens not only Israel, the Iranian missiles can reach London and beyond. And Iran is actually a danger to everybody. They know how to launch missiles from submarines. So imagine like a submarine which shows up somewhere in the Atlantic.
And reaches us
And
in
reaches
America.
wherever they like, or in Australia or wherever. Okay, so they can do whatever they like. And don't forget that they think, that they believe that they are directed by Allah. That according to the Shia, the leaders of the Shia are, as they in Arabic, ma'sumin, infallible. They cannot make any mistake. They are connected directly to Allah. And therefore, if they decide to develop nuclear weapons and maybe to use them as well, this is a divine decision. It's not their decision. They get it from His Majesty. So, and this is how they think. Nuclear weapons in the hands of these people is very dangerous. Very dangerous, because at any given moment they can decide that Allah gives them the order to use it. And who are the swine eaters and the wine drinkers to tell them what to do and what not to do? They look at all the others from high and above. The Jews are defiled, while Christians as well, and they drink and they eat whatever they eat. So who cares about them? Who gave them the permission to talk to us, Muslims, believers? This is how they look at it. This is why negotiations with them is futile, without any meaning. And the only thing which works with the Iranians is credible threat. Not a threat, because they don't believe you, it's not a threat. Only credible threat. A threat which they believe that you will do to them what you say to them. And there are three, I would say, proofs to this. First of all, as you might remember, when they took over Iran in 1979, February, they bursted into the American embassy and they caught 52 more, maybe some of them were intelligence personnel, diplomat, but still they were immune by the diplomatic immunity. A diplomat you cannot catch. You can tell him to leave their country because he is a persona non grata, undesirable person. So you can give him 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours to leave the country, and that's what happens. They caught these people, these American diplomats, and they held them 444 days against the international law, against everything. When did they release them? In the minute which Ronald Reagan, this whole thing happened when Jimmy Carter was the president. But Ronald Reagan replaced him when he stood on the lawn of the White House, pledging allegiance to the Constitution as a president who comes to office. Why? They released them. The same minute, the airplane which carried these 52 men left the Iranian airspace. Why? Because along his campaign, Reagan, he said that the first thing which he's going to do when he steps into the White House as a president will be to take care of the Iranians. Now, he was, an actor. He says, I'm going to take care of them.
Do you believe it?
With all the gestures of how in the Westerns, you take care of somebody. They understood that this taking care will not be nice. So this was a credible threat. So they released the 52 diplomats without anything. No money, no releasing of anybody. They just got rid of them before the president takes care of them. Okay? And this is what we say in political science, credible threat. The second was in the end of the war between Iran and Iraq. This war erupted in 1980, and continued 8 years until 1988. It finished not because the Iranians were defeated, but because the United States, by mistake, knocked down an Iranian airliner above the Gulf, causing the death of, by mistake, of like 200 people, the passengers and the crew. The Iranians suspected that this was intended. And if America comes into the war with Iraq, this is something which Iran cannot face. So they raised the white flag. Although it was
A mistake.
a mistake.
Yeah. Right.
But they viewed it as a threat of America to become part of the coalition against Iran, so they give up. This second proof. The third proof was in 2003. The invasion against Saddam Hussein, invasion of Iraq, by the Americans and the Europeans and many others. The Americans said that they will be finished by June. They thought that the 3 months will be enough in order to rebuild Iraq as a democracy. I already told them that this is nonsense. It cannot be. It maybe, could be 30 years, but not 3 months. But they thought, and they were talking about continuing the war in June, maybe on Iraq, on Syria, on both. This was discussions. I took part in these discussions. So I know. Iran halted its nuclear weapon program immediately because they were afraid that they will be targeted with the next target of Iran, of the United States after Iraq. But they started the insurgency in Iraq. They helped it, they supported it, they trained the people, and they armed them, and they equipped them, and they actually sponsored this. And America had all the evidence needed in order to blame Iran for the participation in the insurgency. It took 3 years. America did nothing against Iran, although the American intelligence had all the information about Iran participation in the insurgency, and they did nothing. So they understood that America more or less becoming a paper tiger. So they resumed their nuclear program in 2006 after holding it for 3 years. So this shows you that when they are afraid that the world will do something, they are deterred. What do I say? In order for the world to get rid of the Iranian nuclear weapons, the world leadership, headed by the American president, should have sent them a letter saying this: Dear Iranians, Khamenei, your time is over and your game is over. We don't believe in one word which you say. You have 1 week exactly to get rid of all the facilities and everything for the uranium and the enriched uranium, whatever you have, everything which you have about this nuclear program. You have 1 week exactly to ship it to us on ships. If you fail to do it within 1 week, we are going to flatten you with the earth. And we are around you, and we are already warming the engines. Don't call us, we will not call you. And read our lips, we mean business. We say what we mean, and we mean what we say. You're finished in 1 week. Now, the more credible this threat is, the less the chance that you have to use it.